So after putting together all the information I had from all the people I had spoken with, I was kind of slow walking through making changes to my diet, tweaking that, figuring out what foods I could eat, what foods I should eat, how it was affecting me energetically, weight wise. Dropped quite a bit of weight pretty quickly because the Wahls Protocol, which I immediately selected. The third, there's three levels to it. No grains, no dairy, no gluten, no nuts, no starches. So essentially, it is vegetables and protein, a meat source. And it calls for a large amount of vegetables. And I initially was doing that, and then I pared that down because, you just need to find what works for you. So as I was going through this, I was staring down, looking at getting on the DMT, disease modifying therapy, that my neurologist had recommended, and doing a lot of research based on what I had found out from the people I had interviewed who had been on these disease modifying therapies, where their health was now. And some people were doing okay. Some people were not doing didn't do okay, and some people were currently, when I spoke to them, not doing well. So I, as I went through, was, thinking about, well, what else can I consider at this time? And I wanted to go to get a second opinion, not about my diagnosis, but about treatment options. So I researched, thought about Johns Hopkins, thought about, a variety of institutions, and I selected Mayo Clinic. And I tried to get into Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville in Florida. They didn't accept me. And when I wanted to know why they didn't accept me, they explained that they are, quite frankly, way too busy and that I should try another campus. At which time I pivoted, reached out to their Minnesota campus. I was immediately accepted within days. So that was at the very beginning of April that I reached out to them. May have been the end of March. So just to, I was diagnosed January 25th, 2024. By the end of March, I was well into researching going for a second opinion on treatment. And then Mayo Clinic in Minnesota accepted me and proposed, like, the next week to come in, and they made room for me on their schedule. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So they wanted me there 7 to 9 days. And so I went through this process of deciding what it was that I wanted to follow up on what they recommended in the way of seeing specialists once I got there. And I had it's a whole decision process that we went through, and that I can do some filming on that in a separate video. But um, we just decided to take the time that they had opened up for us. It was, I think, 2 weeks away. So we were going to, end up at Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, which is their main campus, April 9th through to be determined. So they explained that, we want you here for this amount of time. We've carved out this. You're going to see these many specialists, and then you can make decisions based on that. And I considered what I wanted to follow up on and what I wanted them to have uh, their input as compared to what I wanted to deal with locally. So I left it like a rough draft, and you can make changes when you get there and decide what you want to do. But literally, without getting into the detail, because you have to make flight plans, hotel plans, and that sort of thing, with no end date, and they have they know this, not the airlines, but the hotel that's nearby, and they understand that it's, to be determined. So we went ahead and made that appointment with Mayo Clinic. Interim, I still was following my local neurologist recommendations, and I did make an appointment before I left for Mayo to start disease modifying therapy on, I believe it was April 20, 22nd, 23rd, something like that. I had chair 10 reserved for me. And So I wanted to have that piece done in case, in fact, Mayo did, confirm that disease modifying therapy and the one I selected was the best because while my doctor recommended initially Ocrevus, based on a lot of research, I came up with a different option, and he agreed to that. Tysabri was a better option for me, and I can also do, other recordings about that, how that decision was made, what went into those decisions. So my trip to Mayo was incredibly valuable, and in my next recording, I will discuss the details of that visit.